Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tower of Babble podcast. As always, I am Julian Mush. I am joined by Jeremy Cozier.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the latest in film and television news today. It's been a little while. This is summer schedule as it goes, so episodes are a little bit fewer and further between than we'd probably like. But there's lots to talk about. There's a new Superman and a bunch of other casting news related to that movie worth getting into. By the way, speaking of actors and getting cast, that's not really happening right now because SAG is now also on strike. So we'll talk a little bit about the state of the film industry as we've been doing as of late. Really just more doom scrolling, as the kids say. Emmy nominations are out, so we'll spend a little bit of time diving into those. Not too much. I think we usually like to save it for once the Emmys have actually happened. And then, of course, we are ramping up into Barbenheimer because Barbie and Oppenheimer release next weekend, and or this coming weekend, sorry. And I am excited. Jeremy, are you excited about Barbenheimer? Are you going to go see either of those movies?
Yeah, maybe.
Bullshit. You're going to go see Oppenheimer at least, I imagine, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Does Barbie have cast any interest for you at all?
Not really, no.
No way. The Greta Gerwig of it all does compel me a little bit. And obviously Margot Robbie is good. I mean, I don't know. The buzz has been very hot coming out of the Barbie camp. I'm just more been into this whole idea of calling it Barbenheimer and the two of them releasing at the same time and kind of what does that mean and how the two movies that they're promoting kind of are promoting each other, which is kind of a fun concept. Anyway, the only reason I bring it up, really selfishly, is because myself and my girlfriend are going to be going on a little mini road trip. So if you're familiar with where we record, which is in Winnipeg, Canada, for those who aren't familiar with that, we are going to be driving to Regina, which is about a 5-6 hour drive from here west to the nearest IMAX screen that is going to be projecting Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter. So it's a long story, but essentially we have a mall here that used to have an IMAX in it that had a 70 millimeter projector that no longer exists. I don't know what happened to the projector. I would actually be interested in finding out what happened to that space because the space is still there. And the projector room had you could walk behind it and see the massive projector and all that kind of stuff, and that's really cool. And if you've seen the actual 70 millimeter print for Oppenheimer, it's like several miles long. It's like as big as you can fit on the tray without it breaking. It's kind of cool when you look at actual film in a spool like that. But long story short, the IMAX is gone, which breaks my heart. The mall killed it. It was in a crappy mall, and that crappy mall killed the IMAX because it was on the third floor of that crappy mall. And now the closest IMAX is in a
in Polo Park.
No, it's a Limax, Jeremy. So yeah, we have an IMAX screen at our local Cineplex, but it's not a true IMAX screen. And I'm convinced.
Why not?
Well, it's not. First of all, it doesn't project in 70 millimeter.
What is it projecting?
I don't know here's the other
65 millimeter.
I don't know, but it's not going to project in film either. It's going to be projecting on digital. It's going to be projected digitally also.
Right.
The other thing is we don't know exactly what the diameter and all that stuff works for the Limax screens, or as they call them in short, because they're all different.
You can't go to the website and
I don't think it's listed anywhere. I've tried to figure that out because what I want to know is who is using who's using the best tech, because there's another
well, we've seen the manager at the Polo Park Cineplex.
and you're not convinced that's true. Did I tell you? I did. I said this on the podcast that one time I saw all the managers from the Cineplexes across the country at the Toronto airport.
It's fascinating you didn't just throw your cards in the mix.
Why? Because you think I want that job?
Why did your voice go higher?
I don't know. Actually, I also noticed that.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking, you're so into movies more than I think you've ever been, and the ins and outs of streaming and just content in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you want your hand at being at
Hand
the
on the wheel.
forefront of projecting all SAG
Sure.
content in a way that you would pay for and enjoy and experience? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, except I don't think that the role of a theater manager is that person. I think everything you described sounds exciting. I would love that opportunity to help steer what that means. But I think that means more like I think you have to be an owner operator to really to have that kind of say, or work for a company like IMAX, or work for a company like Sony, or some of these like that pioneer the tech, you know, that and THX and Dolby and all that kind of stuff. Those are the places that are really pushing the edge. And the thing is, I'm not convinced we have a Dolby theater here at all. I'm sure that some of the
You're not
places use
convinced?
Dolby. I'm not convinced
I
because
don't know about that. That
I
sounds pretty good at both.
the Regal theater here is it Regal? Is that the
Regal. What?
not Regal?
Which one's that? Where?
What's the Grant Park Theater? What's it called? Uh,
Landmark.
Landmark. Sorry, the Landmark Theater I think is the closest because I'm pretty sure it's using new digital projectors and a new Dolby soundscape, but I don't know for sure about the projector. And the other thing about the IMAX screen here, the LiMAX screen here, so I can continue on my rant and tangent, is that I'm pretty sure the bulb is several years old because it is dim. I saw Indiana Jones there
It is
recently.
dim.
It's not It's not as bright as it should be. Jeremy, do you feel differently? Like, do you feel like it should be?
No, I haven't seen. I haven't. I can't remember the last time I went to the Polo Park IMAX, to be honest. But I was impressed with the AVX at the new theater in
Yes.
the KP Mall. I feel like the sound, the picture quality, the digital projection. I think everything is as good as it can, as good as it
Yeah,
should be.
that's
If you're
true.
gonna,
The only thing that's a problem there is the seats, which are supposed to be like premium seats, are kind of uncomfortable. Other
right?
than
But
that,
you still
yeah,
get that like large auditorium feeling you would
yes.
where the seats aren't all the way,
Hmm.
feet up. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I like yeah. For
I
me,
did.
it's about
I
the
think I did at
sound.
first. It was like, it's like, yeah, I'll never go back. It's like, yeah, sure, but
Turns out you will. I
well, there's
again,
so many limited seats for our landmark. It's so tiny.
it's
It's
true.
crammed into
And
the back of a Grand Park Mall.
yeah, and which is a small, tiny little mall, and they've not removed, replaced one row of seats in that with premium, quote unquote premium
Yeah,
seats,
we
which
get
are like
walls now.
$25 for a seat at a movie theater, which is insane. And
Yeah,
the
you're like
only difference is
you're
it's slightly
completely
bigger.
like, well, it's just
Yeah,
more privacy, right?
I guess, but you're in a movie theater. It's like it's not who's what kind of privacy? Like, what do you need? Like, what are you doing there that you you
Well, it's
need the
just a way to
privacy?
upscale. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
guess.
also think they're heated,
Yes, they have heated seats. I
so
think
people
that's the
bring their
only thing.
blankets and they're
Yeah,
basically like sleeping in their little
yeah.
nest area.
And a little
But I don't
spot for their
mind how the
bag.
Grand Park was before, or the other theaters where it's just you have your table that separates you from other people. You're not really close or touching other people at all.
Yeah,
Anyways,
anyway, the point of this whole story is to say that I'm driving 6 hours each way to see
yikes.
Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter. Uh, Kara got us a set of matching shirts that she made, or kind of, anyway, not made so much as just like got some pictures printed on it, but of a Barbenheimer poster, which is really cool, which combines the two movies into one poster, and then also a little logo on the front. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. I'm not clear if those will get here on time for the actual road trip,
Unclear.
but yeah, we're hoping they will, but we don't know for sure. Who knows with shipping? Um,
I'm gonna have to cancel the whole trip if they don't come in time.
well, actually, you know what we were thinking
The
about
way you're
doing,
talking
and
about it.
for the patrons out there. So we are Patreon supported podcast. Those of you listening who are Patreon supporters, thank you very much. If you are not and interested in learning more about what we offer for our Patreon, head over to towerbabble.ca/support or patreon.com/towerbabblecast to get all the details. And we do monthly film clubs. It's very exciting. We're going to do Mission Impossible 2, MI2 this month. But that is to say, we're thinking about maybe doing like a little like road trip video diary, video log, travel log for this road trip because I don't know, it's something to do. So we'll think about that. That would be exclusive for the patrons, of course. We don't just release that kind of thing out to everybody. That's special stuff. So anyway, look for that or more information on that after next weekend because there's lots of driving, so we have lots of time to think about what we want to do. All right, so let's move on into some DC news, as we typically do. Start with DC news. The Flash, Jeremy. We did a special episode last time we recorded, 2 weeks back, when we talked about. I think so, because it was mostly about the Flash. It was a special Flash edition of the TOB podcast, and it was mostly like kind of. How would you describe it, Jeremy? Like
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Just a complete massive disappointment.
Well, no, I think that's basically what we were talking about. But like the episode that we recorded was very much talking about the potential fallout of what that massive disappointment is. And we talked about the creative side of things, which is also a disappointment. But from a financial standpoint, it's a massive disappointment. So much so that it's likely to cost Warner Brothers Discovery $200 million. They'll lose $200 million. And
not more.
If not more. And that makes it, or likely will make it, the largest box office flop in Warner Brothers history, which is over 100 years old. So that's the state of things. I mean, this is all, of course, in the shadow of the just general turmoil going on in Hollywood, right? So let us list the things that are going on, right? So we've got massive flops at the box office. These huge movies, franchises, these too big to fail type of movies are failing, right? We have The Flash is an example of that.
But not all of them.
Not all of them. Not all of them. But generally speaking, there's a lot of disappointments this year. So just from that standpoint, when we thought we were coming out of COVID and the box office was back, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, over $500 million, doing great. Across the Spider-Verse, sorry. Other movies have some legs. Even Pixar's latest movie's been doing better than people expected. But so that's one thing. Then we have the writer's strike, which has been going on for 2 months, right? Casting a shadow of its own on the near future
actor's strike, pretty much,
which is now also an actor strike. So SAG recently, I think just a few days ago, last week, announced that they also elected to go on strike. This is the first time in 60 years that the writers and the actors have been on strike at the same time. Missed opportunity for the Directors Guild, who took basically I wouldn't say a sweetheart deal, but they gave up a lot of leverage when they had the opportunity to be a united front with the writers and the actors. So that's an interesting side angle. But generally speaking, so that's all going on. Plus, you have on the streaming side, they're all these studios are saying, "Oh, we don't make money. We don't make money." We have the AI issue, how that's going to be tackled, and then you have stuff like Warner Brothers imploding on itself, selling off all of its music rights and cutting out half the people who work for Turner Classic Movies. So you have to have Spielberg call Zaslav personally so that he could convince him not to kill Turner Classic Movies. That who knows if that'll even work. Despite what Zaslav says, and then you have quotes coming out of the Producers Guild, people saying stuff like, quote, "The end game is to allow things to drag out until union members start losing their apartments and losing their houses," which obviously backfired terribly for them because that quote was anonymous in Deadline, though people seem to know who likely that was. It's just a hellish time to be. It's for us, Jeremy. It's interesting because looking at the industry, it seems to be completely collapsing. But right now, this summer, I have been to more movies this summer than I have in years and years. Obviously, COVID is a reason for that, but I am eating, as the kids say.
Eating well.
I'm eating well because there are so many good movies out in the movie theaters. Even the movies that aren't performing well at the box office, I think are good. Indiana Jones, which is considered to be like kind of a middle performer for as far as movies go at the box office, kind of was getting raked over the coals critically, I thought was an absolute blast. We can talk about that maybe a little
Well, I
bit
think
later. But
it's in the running for being a pretty devastating loss on their investment, because I'm pretty sure the budget was like 300 something mil,
yeah, it was really
and it
high.
hasn't even like gotten to that price point worldwide yet. It's like under it.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah. Indiana Jones, The Isle of
it's the
Destiny,
last I
box
saw. I don't know.
office.
Maybe that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like it's interesting. I think the other thing is, of course, it's like, there's a media spin to all this, which is to say that like
As there always is
sometimes,
on like most
right,
things.
like, oh hey, Indiana Jones is a box office flop, even though comparatively to the Flash, it's doing great, right? So right now the worldwide grosses for Indiana Jones is just over $300 million. Does it say its budget? Let's see here.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Box
sure
office.
COVID like hit it into that range.
Yeah, because I mean, and that's the other
Pretty
thing.
high
Some of these
budget.
are budgets were ballooned because of COVID, because they're being made during COVID, which cost them more. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag in my opinion on that front. But I think 300 million so far for Indiana Jones, I think is, maybe not what they wanted, but it could be a lot worse in my opinion. And again, I think the movie. More importantly, I think the movie's interesting. It's entertaining. I think it's really fun. I really liked it. I just don't understand what people wanted from this movie, because it delivers a great Indiana Jones experience in my opinion.
And then
But
you
anyway,
have a new Insidious movie on a $16 million budget, and it's making, I think, at over 120 million right now.
yeah, it's
So
yeah,
it's
I
just
don't know.
that old thing of like, if you can just make a good quality movie or something that people like, you will get their attention, um, but for cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
But
like
it's so
we've
hard to
got
like balance that.
yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, I have a special segment for this dedicated to it later, an agree or disagree segment about the state of things in Hollywood, and why we're in this predicament. But, um, you know what? Before we get into the rest of this DC stuff, let's just jump right into that, because I think it's the most interesting part. So, as we talked about, SAG is on strike. Um, uh, as this is happening, by the way, I want to mention this before we get into this. Warner Brothers Animation, of course, who we know for making all the DC animated films that we enjoy so much, and that recent Mortal Kombat animated film, and the production workers at Cartoon Network are launching a unionization effort. So we're talking about unions with the SAG stuff and the writers stuff. Not everyone has a strong union. The animation folks have all for a long time not had the benefit of strong and almost any unions or strong unions at all. So this is exciting. I think the potential fallout of that, by the way, is that Warner Brothers takes actions to, how I'm sure, Jeremy, I'm sure you've seen this or heard about this before. Like, a Walmart somewhere in the Midwest tries to unionize, and all of a sudden that Walmart's shut down. You know what I mean? Strike busting actions, which are technically illegal but hard to prove. The worst case scenario here would be Warner Brothers kind of lashing out at Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Animation with some strike busting action, which I would be just another, black mark on a studio that is just getting tarred and feathered constantly right now by making bad decision after bad decision. So I fully support Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network production workers on their unionization effort. That's coming from THR. Interesting that that's happening. It just feels like to me the producers really come across, and the executives in these their bosses really come across as like mustache twirling villains, like saying the
Well,
worst shit.
look at the salary that. Did you see that? Like
Mm-hmm.
that list?
I have it in front of me. Let me
The
pull that up right
figures
now.
are literally just below $500 million.
Yeah, so David Zaslav, which this one irks me the most, Jeremy, because it's like, first, I don't really necessarily care how much these assholes make, but the fact that David Zaslav, who is a name that I'm already sick of I just don't want to hear it ever. But every time his name comes up, it's almost
It's just
always
like a South
associated
Park
with bad.
episode, eh?
Yeah, it's just always associated with
You
bad
just
news.
picture his face, right, with the sunglasses and the fake
Ugh,
teeth and like the
he just thinks he's
pointy and the
so
golf
cool.
shirts, and he's in
Ugh.
charge of all these IPs, and we heard his voice because the investors' calls were just so heavily reported on, and
Yeah.
sound bites were pulled from
Well,
it.
my favorite is the one he's giving that commencement speech at like
Oh yeah,
that
the
Georgia
recent one.
University or whatever, and he's
Yeah,
just getting booed
yeah,
relentlessly by his own alma mater, which I
yeah,
personally big fan of that. That's when you do bad shit, you deserve to be booed.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
And then
So
before that, in the conference call, he said we've seen Black Adam, we've seen the Flash, we we believe in these products, we think we can make them better, and it's like, dude,
well, he's full of shit.
clearly just lies.
Yeah, and so he's making $498 million. These are their, by the way, these are their not
What do you
annual
like?
salaries,
Yeah,
but
it's over a period of time, but
yeah.
what are their what are their houses
Oh,
look
Jeremy,
like? How
you
many
don't.
are there?
I we can't comprehend. We just
Comprehend,
don't.
yeah.
We
So,
can't
but that's what I mean.
understand. They
That,
live
but
in a different
what
world,
bothered
man.
me is you said I don't care how much these assholes make. That's why these people are on strike, because the balance, the greed,
It's completely
is
out of
so
whack.
appalling.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing with this amount of millions, if not,
What?
upwards of a billion or
Right.
more?
Yeah.
What are you doing with this money
Nothing.
when residual checks
Sitting on it.
for actors are cents to the dollars to $100
Yeah.
for
Worthless.
streaming, which
Yeah.
are billion streams or whatever streams, but then the streaming service is saying they're not making money, but it's like you see the CEO payouts.
It's
So
wild. They're giving they pat each other on the back and hand each other checks for bonuses for doing for losing millions of dollars every year. I don't understand
yeah,
what
in debt.
for
Well, the
what.
rumor now is that Zaslav's he's trying to get the DC brand on track, amongst other things, to eventually sell Warner Brothers again.
To what? For what? To what end? Like, so what? This drives me nuts. So I work in the tech industry, not to get into my day job, but one of the things that happened to me recently was a customer of ours had been acquired by BlackRock, and BlackRock is a private equity firm that basically just buys up assets, asset managers they're sometimes called, and then sells these companies for parts. What do they have that's valuable? The land that they own, the merchandise that they have, the IP, the brand, whatever is worth a penny, they will sell it off, and that money just goes directly into their pockets and their shareholders' pockets, and the company that was left over is often just left in shambles, destroyed, and it lucky to survive. Often, it sometimes doesn't. Often doesn't. In the case of this, it's kind of been split up into multiple companies, and we basically weren't able to work with them anymore. So I can see this as another example of just like AT&T sold off Warner Brothers into this merger with Discovery, which created this mountain of debt. Which, by the way, again, not to get overly complicated, but when you have that much debt, people profit off of that much debt. Just to be clear, they can bet against these companies, and when they start to sell off assets like that, they make money, and so the bones of Warner Brothers, and the flesh that it was for the last 100 years might be completely gone, but if it gets sold off again, because what's left of value, right? These IPs, really, right? DC and a few others. That weren't, Harry Potter and a few other
And they
things
just
that
can't, but DC in particular just can't find the attention of the general public.
Yeah, I mean, and they have a statement addressing that specific critique right now. I mean, here's the thing: I find it hard to judge the recent performance too harshly, because it's really hard to make anything worthwhile when the floor is constantly moving under your feet, right? The last time we had stability at DC was Batman v Superman.
Mm-hmm.
That movie underperformed, and then things started
Well,
to
that was the narrative. It made
well,
$876 million.
well, as of today, but
No,
it
that was his box office run. for inflation today, it actually goes over a billion. That's the whole problem with everything going on. It's just narratives and what is the real information and what were the decisions made off that misinformation or real information, right? That's what I've come to understand. I just
Well,
don't
yeah, I
think it
mean,
should have been considered a flop in those terms, but in terms of money.
it made $330 million domestically, um, which I guess maybe that's
Yeah,
where they're seeing that.
it was just the
Yeah,
online toxic narrative of, it has this, this, and this, so it should equal this. Um,
sure. It
but
should
when you
it should be
compare
$1
it
billion,
to when
whatever.
you
It's
compare
Batman
it
v
to
Superman,
other
right?
things, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Hulk 1, um, it just wasn't until Avengers, the team up, where billions were getting cracked. Even Iron
Right.
Man 1 or 2, I don't think they even made a billion.
No,
Um,
I think the expectations are out of whack too. I
yeah,
agree,
that's
right?
that's the whole thing. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, regardless of the narrative or whatever, the fact of the matter is, after BVS, things started to collapse internally at Warner Brothers,
Mhm.
with the Snyder stuff, and then that whole momentum was then abused for the release of the Snyder Cut, which is now being, that whole stuff, that all that stuff is still kind of settling out. So until there's stability again, which there is for now, right? But you know, stability really counts over longer term. James
There
Gunn
can't
only
you
was
but you
hired
can't
recently.
you really can't say there is stability because they're losing money and there's huge strikes that are 60-year records.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, some of that, but that's outside of DC's control, right? If you're talking about DC
Well,
specifically as a brand,
we'll talk about it soon, but like just we always report on DC news, obviously what upcoming, but all of the recently announced casting or this or that, you know what I mean? Like it's not really, it's
you don't
kind
think
of
that's resonating?
well, no, I wasn't going to that, but maybe
Mm,
that's also the case. But I just mean you have all these plans, but everything is being halted, so who knows what will
right.
be, uh, you know, revisiting because
Yeah.
you can't technically do anything right now.
Yeah. There's nothing you can't film
And last
anything.
time there was the
Yeah.
strike, right? We lost out on Justice League Mortal, George Miller's
Well, yeah, and
Justice
we
League
and
Mortal.
we ended up getting Transformers 2, and that's a turd of a movie. So we got
Yeah,
like, it's a mixed bag, right? We lost movies that could have been made, and then we got movies that were made that were bad. So you know, the hope is that out of this, that we don't have a bunch of scab writers making crappy movies for scab actors. I mean, that's not going to happen, right? So nothing's really going to be in production until this is settled, and then so we're going to have a big gap. Probably there's be a time shift of where we feel the impacts as viewers, probably by at least a year or more, depending on how long the strike goes on. So right now we have a back catalog of COVID movies that we're getting through now. Oppenheimer being, one, and Barbie being another, and etc. Um, uh, and then we're going to get into this next dead zone because Dune is kind of another movie that kind of falls into that category, Dune 2. And then we're going to get into this next dead zone where there's nothing in production, which means that, maybe not next summer, but the summer after is not going to really have anything. So,
Dune
there's really
2
not
just
stability
seems
for.
like such a like splendid, perfect storm, like turnaround sequel
It looks
timing.
that trailer, Jeremy, is so
Yeah,
awesome. I
a
don't know if you saw Mission
lot going.
Impossible.
No, I haven't, but I seen
Oh,
the Dune trailer. I watched the Dune
yeah.
trailer, I think twice.
Okay.
There's a lot going on in that for sure.
Yeah, I love the black and white moments. I don't know what's going on there. I it's like the everything about it just works for me. I like
It's just nice
yeah.
that it's like the ball kept rolling and we're getting this. Like it's like it feels like we got the first one last year, but I guess it was 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like the
Uh
timing feels
yeah.
just
Well,
feels nice.
and it was one of those things where it was like it was released on HBO Max at the same time,
Right.
so that has its own, like, people have their own opinions on what that was like for those movies. Obviously not good. Look at any Warner Brothers movie that was released at that time, and there's like they made like so little amount of money. It's wild how much money they lost on those movies, just to try to get
Yeah.
people on
King
HBO Max.
Kong, Wonder
Yeah.
Woman 1984, The
Oh
Suicide
yeah.
Squad.
Yeah. Good movies in
Mm,
certain
not
cases.
really.
I think The Suicide Squad's a good movie.
All three
Um,
movies I said, I don't think are there.
well, anyway, well, individual taste aside, they didn't
Yeah,
probably deserve
Suicide
to make
Squad
that
was a
little
good
amount of
movie.
money.
You'd want to you'd probably have watched it again.
I don't really rewatch
Since
movies that often, Jeremy. That's not a
yeah,
good test for me. I think
really?
it's very rare for
What?
me to go back and rewatch a
That's
movie.
wild.
I've only seen the Batman twice.
Well,
And
that
that's a
one's
movie I
a
really like.
snooze fest.
Well, Jeremy, that's not fair. That's not fair.
It is fair. The Dark Knight, Batman Begins. What do you mean? You've watched them one time and you just that's
I've seen The
wild.
Dark Knight a couple times. I really don't watch rewatch movies that often. It's I swear to God, unless I'm doing like a rewatch for like Mission Impossible, so I'm going to do MI1 and then MI2 for the film club.
No, rewatchability is a massive, a timeless piece that can resonate
Yes, I
throughout
agree.
time.
I don't
You're
disagree. I'm just saying
totally
for
off
me
base here.
personally. I'm just saying for me personally, I don't rewatch movies very
It's
often.
like
I'm
who's
always
gonna
looking for another
watch
new thing.
Ant-Man and Quantumania like again?
I
Like, what do
don't
you
know.
mean?
Marvel super fans. I don't know. I'm listen. I'm not. I saw that you had Dunkirk on 4K, for instance. I feel like that's a movie that I'm not particularly interested in rewatching, although it's a movie I liked when I watched it. So it's not a perfect metric, is all I'm saying. That's my only point.
Sure.
Okay. So let's get into this agree or disagree segment. So, as you know, when we do an agree or disagree segment, I usually read some opinion or another, and then we comment on it. We
Argue.
said that we agree or disagree with the sentiment of the piece. And now it's sometimes not always as obvious. Now in this case, I'm going to read a Twitter thread from Arash Amel, who's a writer in Hollywood. Now, obviously, as a striking writer, they have a bias, right? So keep
Wait,
that
one
in
second.
mind.
If you were to pull up a thread on Threads, how would you word? You would say, "I'm going to pull up a thread on Threads."
A thread. Yeah. Yes, I think that's what. I don't know.
That just popped into my mind. Not like that's ever going to catch on, or
Yeah.
it's like how
But
everyone just like created a profile and then
if they want to
that
have
was a
Jeremy,
week. That was
they
1
want a
week.
backup. They want a backup plan for in case Twitter.
Well, it's Facebook's Twitter. It's not.
Yes.
It's a complete competitor
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is people on
seeking
Twitter
market share.
are created a thread profile because they were looking for a place to fall back to should
Oh,
Twitter
sure.
get
I was more
worse.
so referencing Instagram, where like the actual like clickable hub is
Oh,
like
right.
within the profile or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I have a thread account. What I don't have the ability to do yet in Thread is create
Threads.
like multiple accounts and like switch between them easily like you can in Instagram or Twitter. So the podcast doesn't have an account there yet. We're not threading yet as a podcast, but you can still follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast. Which I do still tweet on that a lot. Okay, so again, Arash Amel, writer from Hollywood, has a bias, but I happen to agree, not to spoil my position on this too much, but I happen to agree with the writer's position in the strike. I mean, I've yet to meet anyone who's really, who's being a serious person and is kind of negotiating or speaking in good faith on the matter, who really honestly takes the side of the producers, because I just feel like what the producers are saying is bullshit. What they're saying is not true. The money is there. They can pay them. They just don't want to, is really what it feels like.
Iger is on video interview saying that it's unrealistic. Whatever they're asking
It's
for.
unrealistic what they're asking for. Yeah, healthcare. How unrealistic.
Bob Iger like basically retired and then sailed off into the sunset after reacquiring Spider-Man and working with Sony.
Yep.
And they gave it to some other guy whose name I already forget.
Also named Bob.
I thought it was like, oh, okay, that was like,
yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking Doug Bowser, but I think that's like the Nintendo guy.
That's the Nintendo guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he said something bad in the media about Disney movies or something, and adults and kids or something like that, right? Streaming.
Yeah,
movies.
I mean,
and then they just bring Iger back, and now he's signed a contract to 2026. And then the strike is happening, and then we see his salary, and it's just
a comical. He went from being the hero to the villain in like overnight. Hold on, I'm gonna let the dog into the studio. He's annoying me. Winston, come on. Lie down. For those watching live, Winston has joined the podcast. So, if anyone's wondering,
It says we have 0 viewers.
no, we have
Yeah,
one.
I don't know.
Anyway,
It's Kara in the room next door.
sometimes that might be true, but I think in this case, I don't think that's the case.
It's not.
Well, she's at a party.
Yeah, anyone we know will listen for 20 seconds and be like, "This is not for me."
Actually, it's funny. Is so I bought a I was telling you about this before we recorded. But I bought that kind of audio accessory. We're upgrading Jeremy's audio setup for the listeners that are curious. And so I bought it secondhand off of Marketplace, another Facebook tool. And the guy was like super curious about like what we were gonna use this device for. And I was like, yeah, we're a podcast and we've been doing this for a long time, and I wanted to kind of, upgrade the setup a little bit. And he's like, oh, really? Interesting. Can you what do you guys like talk about and stuff? So I told him about what we do, and he's like, oh, yeah, I still have like an old Boba Fett, original Boba Fett in its original packaging, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Anyway, so he ends up messaging me on Facebook Messenger after I get home, after paying the man his money. And he's like, hey, send me a link to your podcast. So maybe we have another listener. So we'll find out, I suppose. If they are listening, thank you so much for joining the TOB Army or whatever our fan base. Did we ever come up with a name for that? I don't know if we did.
TOB Battalion.
Okay, that's much better. Thank you.
Just kidding. I only say that because that's what the Blue Beetle fans online are.
Oh, there's Blue Beetle fans online?
Yeah, the Blue Beetle Battalion.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what, Jeremy? That movie, although despite looking like it's going to be another failure for Warner Brothers, looks like it actually is kind of fun. So I am interested to see what that movie's about. Will I go see it in the movies? I don't know.
I don't think it looks that fun then.
Well, that's not necessarily. I thought the new Transformers movie looked pretty
fun. So why wouldn't you go have some fun?
That doesn't necessarily mean that's the only consideration I have for when I go see a movie. So anyway, I do want to have fun, but it's not necessarily the only thing. That's got to be
high up there. You want to have fun in the movie.
It's like one or two for sure, right? Right. The new Transformers movie I haven't got to see in theaters either, but that's another movie I wanted to see and looked fun. So, Rise of the Beasts, Jeremy.
Also look like ass.
Okay, let's get into this agree or disagree segment. Okay, so Arash Amel. With Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 looking very shaky at the box office this week, it looks like we are seeing a disastrous summer box office. Where did it go wrong? The answer is pretty simple. Risk aversion to original ideas or IP, rampant corporatization of movie studios as offshoots of media monoliths, the reduction of the role of the creative executive to corporate brand manager, and the need to go bigger to please Wall Street. Because you see, tired sequels of sequels of sequels with aging stars and tired formats is a result of a constant chase for growth and size. It's how we end up with a $300 million budget and stale IP. No other businesses survive this level of negligence in R&D. Hollywood is no exception. With the need to grow comes big budgets and the fear of the new. We have no younger generation of bankable movie stars because we haven't invested in the type of theatrical movies that typically built them. Because studios abandon lower budget movies and original or fresh IP genre films. The refrain that people won't go to smaller movies because of streaming is a cop-out, a lie, and a pure fear because it would involve a risk and creativity at studios that has long been wrung out by its ranks by Wall Street and upper management. I've seen great, even incredible creative executives struggle. I've seen some of the best laid off and the best of those who remain handcuffed to the same overblown, overpriced, and tired formats. Everywhere, the larder of creative properties have been exhausted. With that comes Indy 5, Fast 10, MI7, etc. 1, 2, 3, and onwards. Yet once upon a time, there was a Mission 1, a Fast 1, a Raiders, all made for budgets well below $100 million, starring young movie stars. And that truly is the underlying malaise, part of the new phenomenon of America's leaders aging out. Hollywood is no exception. We are in a death spiral. We have to win young audiences back. The only way out is to go back to the creativity and first principles. We need to go back into the kitchen and kickstart our R&D again, drop budgets, take risks on new stars, build new directors, original projects, make 6 and 50 at 50 million or 3 at 100 million if you must, instead of 1 at 300 million. It won't support Wall Street, but it will support a new cycle of growth, and maybe you end up becoming competitive again and getting that 16 to 34-year-old crowd back in the theater. And if anyone says it can't be done, it's simply because they're afraid of doing the creative work. Money won't fix the problem. An MBA can't fix it either. Only creative risks will. But who's to blame? The same people who got us in the mess of double actors and writer strike are the same ones responsible for the dire state of Hollywood. Wall Street. So there you go. A bit of a scathing indictment of the state of Hollywood today that kind of zeroes in on a cause that I thought resonated. This idea that and I say we, really not we. It's those who are in charge, the creative executives in charge of these franchises, of these studios, are beholden to Wall Street. And this is, by the way, this is a bigger problem in society. By the way, is this basically how we've sold our souls for infinite growth to Wall Street? But that's a story for another day. But that and in its place, we end up having, aging old directors and creatives and executives making movies for themselves, essentially, right? Casting themselves, right? It is kind of wild when you think about it that we have an octogenarian Indiana Jones movie.
You love using
right?
that word, eh?
It's a great word. I love it. It's a great word. I love it. I love it.
Just say old.
He is. That's like the best way to say old. He's so old that he's 80.
Octogenarian.
He's in his 80s, Jeremy. It's fucking crazy.
So?
It's wild.
Isn't Joe Biden in his 80s?
Yeah, but he's not an action hero.
They heavily use CGI here in this new movie.
Yes, I like Indy 5, but
you're just heavily obsessed.
Take a step back.
You have some sort of weird obsession with Harrison Ford being old and grumpy or something.
It's an
and now you've been proving around that he's not grumpy.
I haven't. To some degree, yes, because
wrong.
I've been watching, or we watched season 1 of Shrinking, and he plays an old grumpy guy. That's literally his role in that show. Sure. But he really has there's a lot of heart to it, and he has a lot of heart in Indy 5. And
I just think he just always has fun in his interviews and stuff, and it's just to I think you just read it wrong.
So it's a me problem.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The video of him, like some guy showed him this huge Lego Star Wars vehicle that he built, like a Death Star, like a starship, and he goes hand it over to Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford fumbles it, and it actually just he makes it fall, and it smashes into a million pieces.
On purpose, or he literally
I don't know,
accidentally
it might be on purpose, but he definitely
that's the funniest shit I've ever. I haven't seen that.
You have to look that up. It's so funny.
The same guy who wanted Han Solo to die in the second movie because he didn't want to come back. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's taking a step back from my obviously wrong opinion on Harrison Ford, and just looking at this, Arash's statement here, which is to say we don't have young movie stars. Why is that? Why are we making the 7th Mission Impossible, the 10th Fast and Furious?
It's sequelitis. It's pumping money into an IP that is successful. It's just continuing that brand over and over again with the same people involved, and it just becomes stale and uninteresting and not exciting.
Yeah. So do you agree with the statement, Jeremy?
I would agree.
You agree?
I would
okay.
Agree.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really well articulated.
That's why I'm all in for Rebel Moon coming up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's passion. That's fun.
Well, it's interesting. What we learned apparently recently was that the reason that Zack Snyder's Star Wars pitch, because he wanted to make a Star Wars movie, right, was basically rejected, was because it was too R-rated, which isn't necessarily surprising. We haven't had an R-rated Star Wars movie. I don't know if we're ready for that yet. Although I would be interested to see what that looks like.
I think we are ready. Star Wars is all over the place.
It's also you're saying it's also stale and needs. Okay, fair enough. I mean, it's not coming from Zack Snyder, so when and if and when we get an R-rated Star Wars movie, I will be there to see it. But and it lacked existing characters, which I thought was I think is a scathing indictment on Lucasfilm's approach to these kind of spin-off movies, because
they just want to play it safe.
What exactly? It's like, what do you mean? Why are we even doing spin-off movies if they can't have unique characters in them?
That's what this guy in this thread is calling out, though, right? He's basically saying, let's take huge risks, but as soon as you take that first risk and it doesn't pay off because you just couldn't reach that audience in terms of word of mouth or advertising or whatever, like they're just not willing to do it.
Yeah, but like what he's saying is, I can understand why a studio doesn't want to make or take a $300 million risk on a new actor.
Right.
But he basically says if you make 6 movies at $50 million, if one of those movies is a success, it those risks are hedged against the number of different things you're trying.
Well,
right?
And I think with Rebel Moon in particular, I'm pretty sure because it's a 2-parter, it was originally supposed to be 1, but the budget, like Snyder said, he probably couldn't do it for their ideal budget, so that's why they split into 2 movies at $80 million apiece. So essentially, it's $160 million investment on a 2-part movie, which is essentially 1 movie,
which won't have a theatrical release.
Yeah, but the budget's at $160 million, which is a pretty good budget.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for today's money, I would say 100. If you're making a movie of Star Wars ilk for $160 million, I think you're doing pretty good. Yeah. But it's interesting though. I mean, so I think we're both in agreement here on this sentiment. It's interesting because I think it ties in well with the Superman story, which is to say we have a new Superman that's been cast, David Corenswet.
Who?
I don't know how. I have to get used to saying their last name. Like, is it Corin? Like, where am I putting the emphasis? Like, I feel like I don't really want
Sweat
to.
Or wet?
It's not exactly. I don't. Is it Cornswet or is it Corn Sweat? I don't. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, he might have wanted to consider doing one of those things that actors do, where they just make up their own name because it's more bankable.
Didn't it happen to Harrison Ford or something like that? Or they wanted?
It's happened to all sorts of people. I mean, I'm trying to think of the who's Gordon Bombay's brother. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Emilio Estevez.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he changed his name.
Right.
The Mighty Ducks reference, Jeremy. Sorry, I threw you off there for a second.
Because it's the Sheen family.
Yes, exactly. Well, except for they're the Estevezes, or are they?
Right.
You know what I mean? So the point being is, David, for new Clark, the new Superman, young actor, relatively speaking, and you have Rachel Brosnahan as Lois, also relatively young actor. Rachel Brosnahan. I feel like I've heard
that like I should know who that is.
But okay, but is it really a problem when we cast? She's from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's, I think, where we probably know her best. But I kind of like the idea of casting relatively unknown actors in these big roles like Superman and Lois, and Henry Cavill was relatively unknown to me when he was cast as Superman. Yeah, Gal Gadot, same thing. So I think that's
I'm not saying it as it's a bad thing. I'm just saying as a joke.
Right.
Yeah, like the Jimon Hunsu.
Yes, the Guardians reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Star-Lord. Yeah.
Star-Lord, man.
So Jeremy, just shifting gears here over to DC again. What do you think about this casting? There's other casting we want to talk about, but let's start with the big one, which is Clark and Lois. They are the leads of this movie.
It's a whatever, because it isn't, like you said, it's unknown. So what are you supposed to glean from that?
There's not much. I mean, their look, basically.
Their look, and then I guess a couple of projects, like you mentioned there, if you're familiar with them. And yeah, I just found it funny the memes because Henry Cavill was obviously such a,
Yes.
or he's become such a celebrity, basically ever since like The Witcher
Yeah.
and whatnot. So it's just funny to see all the memes of like the dollar store version of him, and there are like, yeah, there's a lot of similar features like their eyes
Sure.
and nose and whatnot.
Are
But
they? Is he British as well, David Cornsweet? Is he
no, I
also
believe he's
British?
actually American.
Okay, that's interesting because for
Yeah,
so long
usually, yeah, usually
it's
go
been
overseas
British
for all their
actors.
superheroes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not going to deny that they have a certain similarity in look, but we're also talking about them playing the same character, so that's not necessarily
Yeah,
that
yeah,
surprising, you know.
exactly.
Um,
I just also missed the day when we didn't know every single little detail. Like we knew about these people when they were screen testing, when they
yes,
flew from
I
LAX
agree.
to the whatever,
Yeah,
and it's just it's constant. We're inundated and we can't escape it.
I think
And it's like, remember when Man of Steel came out? It's like you didn't know
I didn't know
who
anything.
Henry Cavill was. You just
Yeah,
saw this iconic looking, crazy looking jaw,
the only
blue
thing,
eyed dude who looked like Superman.
yeah, the only thing I knew him from was that like the ancient Greek movie. You know what I'm talking about? Like Invincible or like what's it called? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
but I
like you
hadn't
saw
even.
like, yeah, you
Yeah,
say he's
that's all I
from this
knew.
movie, and then you saw like a screen cap of it, and just like a scrawny,
Yeah,
like he had
yeah.
abs or whatever, like okay, whatever, and then but then
He
you
did
see
the
him suit
300
up and it's
workout.
just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, so I think and so here's the thing, like I don't know what happened to my Twitter algorithm, Jeremy, but it's been
Well,
inundated.
it's the for you algorithm, right?
I don't
So
yeah, but
whatever
I
you,
didn't ask for that. I didn't
well,
want
you
this
kind of
to
did.
happen. No, I did not.
Kind of
No,
did.
I did
You
not really.
did.
I engage with the
You
DC stories, but that's and then
you
instead what it's serving
engaged
me
on Twitter threads
uh
that are part of arguments and baits, and you're like, hey, this guy's saying this. I'm going to say this instead. This is factual. I don't know what he's. And then
right.
everyone does that, right? And then it
So you
feeds
admit
you
that
that.
there is a whole crowd on Twitter right now whose sole purpose seemingly is to just troll
I
this
told you
DC
that
stuff.
multiple
It is
times.
wild,
People,
Jeremy.
so like
Wild.
you are people who have no investment into these franchises or characters or stories or history, any of that. They are creating Twitter accounts or buying Twitter accounts, and they know exactly what to tweet that will inflame either side of the coin.
But like
It's so obvious
for what gain? Like
because
I don't get it.
it's simply for traction, clicks, and arguments. You get paid out on Twitter if you have a tweet that is shared and just see, you know what I mean? Like it's, you do it on purpose. You tweeted in threads for people who had baited opinions that you felt the need to
I
defend
fell for the bait,
yours.
Jeremy, obviously.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you're smart, you would just say the perfect storm thing about Snyder or Gunn, some sort of inflammatory comment,
Right. Right. Either any of
and
those things are very yeah.
let people just have at her in the comments because you're gonna have fans of both, and they're gonna want to defend both, and then you have
It's great,
cults and
Jeremy.
whatnot.
It's
And
just so wild to me. And here's the reason I
dude,
say
think
that.
about it. People are at peace with labeling something a literal cult with thread tweets and just tweets on a
Sure.
social media platform.
Jeremy, I hear what you're saying here and where you're
Yeah.
coming from, but I, what I'm seeing is a culture war, like playing out
Yeah, that people
through
are using
DC
as
for some
bait.
reason. Yeah, and
You think
it's
there's an
crazy.
agenda by a real cult?
No, I don't. No one thinks that.
But that's
No one's
actually
thinking that.
what the mind share is. It's fascinating to me because because I'm attached to the thing they're utilizing, they're
Yeah,
propping up,
yeah,
and it
exactly.
makes me upset when I see people like you just engage in a certain portion of it, but it swaths over all the art and the intent and like the actual intention, and it just blows my mind that that's what we want to
Yeah, it's
discuss when
so
it's like,
nitpicky. Like every
yeah,
little thing that is announced is like, oh well, this obviously means that um that James Gunn is just as bad as all the other shitty executives at Warner Brothers. This proves it. We knew all
yeah,
along.
yeah. So
You know,
that happening
it's like what do you?
today
It's like oh my
because what was it,
god.
yesterday or this morning? There was the Flash deleted scene pictures of Ben Affleck
Sure.
in a now deleted post
Yes.
credit scene, and then THR and all these are reporting, yeah, this was supposed to be the tease for more for a Batfleck movie and Man of Steel 2. They're literally writing those things
Yeah.
because we know what people do with the word Snyder and Gunn and DC on
They're just
Twitter.
using it for clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
wild.
really think that Ben Affleck came back for the Flash because he was going to get the Batfleck movie and a Man of Steel 2? Like, it
No.
isn't what you think it is. They were going to
Yeah.
be the Walter Hamada, Jeff Johns post Justice League era type movies, which is what the
Yes.
Flash is, what
Yeah,
Shazam is.
exactly. Yeah.
It wasn't the Snyderverse that was promised
Yes, and which
with
is yes, I agree with
yeah.
you. I 100% agree with you. But it's like, so what ends up happening is you get these like little sound bites, or you get this like one image or a clip from a one movie from 5 years ago that says,
Mhm.
well, this proves this person wrong and this proves this person wrong, and now you guys are all liars and hypocrites, and it's like, what the just like, people are calling for Gunn to be fired, and they've been calling for Gunn to be fired for a while, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, Jeremy. And I don't want to get caught up in it. It's hard because now my feed is full of that shit.
Yeah,
It's
you're already a
constant.
victim. You're already a victim of it.
I hate it. So because like really what I just want to do is enjoy the news that's coming. Because like here's the thing, what Gunn is trying is a new strategy, which is like this open door transparency concept, which is to say, we will tell you everything that's happening
Well,
during the
the
process.
thing is, he isn't the saint you make him out to be because
I'm not
he
saying that
did.
either.
The thing is that they're doing it to themselves. Warner Brothers making tons of mistakes, as we said before, but Gunn trying to start his new universe
Mm-hmm.
has said things like, "We've met with Ben Affleck precisely for the reason for because he wants to direct a project." Then we have like 3 months later him in an interview specifically stating he has no interest in directing for Gunn's
Right.
DCU. Um, there's just little like comments like that keep happening that are completely hypocritical in a sense. So people are taking those and running with them, but then obviously exaggerating other things and just
Yeah.
creating the nonsense online.
Yeah. And so ultimately, and I've been this has been my soapbox for a while, which is like, we just need these movies like to come out, ones that are entirely separate from the baggage that we have that we're the Flash is dealing with, for
Yeah,
instance, and just start fresh. And that's the only way that we can do this.
but
And
he
then of course
also doesn't help himself when he says that he's going to work with people
that
like because he made the
sure,
Suicide Squad, right, which is one of their biggest
yes,
losses financially, whatnot. Like, but so it's just like, how do you do a fresh, like, it's just always that question of the reboot and at
yeah. What you want to
what
fret,
at
it's a
at
partial
what
or
level?
full
Yeah,
reset, and it's like it's
and
basically a full reset except
he's
for a
been
few
teasing that
things.
it's partial
Yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
actors and whatnot.
yeah.
And then his whole statement of when they cast someone, they are that version of the character in animation and video games and
I
movies.
think that I can't imagine that they're gonna stick to that. I don't feel like.
That's
I
a
mean,
bold.
Star Wars can do it because it's like. I mean, I don't even. They're not even very
Well,
good
I
at doing
think
it,
what
to be
Gunn and
honest.
Saffron are doing though, in terms of like what we are talking about before with budgets and just like flops, it's like they cast Nathan Fillion as
Guy
a
Gardner.
Green Lantern as Guy
Yes.
Gardner. So they're gonna get Nathan Fillion, who's James Gunn's buddy, who's been in plenty of his projects, who's not gonna be like, hey, you need to pay me an obscene amount of money. It's gonna be a decent contract that he'll
Mm-hmm.
accept, and he'll be able to act as him in live action
Right.
in multiple movies, voice him in animated movies and
Mm-hmm.
shows, and voice him in video games. So
Yeah.
you're paying, you know what I mean? You're getting a lot out of these actors that he's casting that are relatively unknown or his
Sure.
friends that can do a wide swath of things.
For the record, I think that this idea that people are getting on Gunn for casting his friends is silly to me,
It
because
is silly, yeah.
it's
There's
because
no problem with
directors
it,
have been
but
doing that for forever. Like
yeah,
for
forever.
Christopher Nolan is like,
I know.
how
I'm
many?
saying that it's.
It's
I'm
like,
saying that it's
yeah,
smart. I'm saying that
yeah.
with what I just said, he's getting his Nathan
He's getting
Fillion to
value.
do multiple
Yeah.
projects for a limited, contract, probably,
Right. And so
or a lesser contract.
yeah, and it's like, sure, is it, maybe it's a sweetheart deal or whatever. He's getting value out of these, and it's like, first, for the record, I like Nathan Fillion a lot. So I'm excited that he's going to play Guy Gardner, a character that I don't really like that much. So that's an interesting
I mean,
combination. You know,
yeah, whatever. You get four different human Green Lanterns. I think now we have maybe six or seven.
there's a lot of them. Yeah,
But like not liking him, it's whatever. He's this version of a Green Lantern dude,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Brash,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like
He's
you
the
don't like
hothead
that,
one. Yeah.
whatever. I mean, it makes for interesting content
I'm
or
not listen.
stories.
That's a good thing. I'm not like
Yeah.
I've never really I like everyone has their favorite Green Lantern. Guy Gardner's near the bottom of my favorite Green Lanterns, but there's a reason for that. He's intentionally unlikable a lot of times, written that way. Being cast as Nathan Fillion or Nathan Fillion being cast as Guy Gardner is interesting. I think that's an interesting choice. I'm
It
much more
it
compelled
is, but
now
it's
than
not
I
one
was.
where like that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's
No,
kind
I
of
guess I
weird.
could see it. I can see it being played quite jokey, to be honest. But I think Nathan Fillion can pull it off.
It
That's my
just seems
opinion.
like it's fun, but it's more like also like this is like an SNL skit.
Well, okay, so is that
Like
because you're talking
this
about
is
the other castings is in comparison, or specifically Guy
no,
Gardner?
well that one specifically, but the other ones are whatever. They're just it's like again
More
relatively unknown
unknowns.
actors,
Yeah.
smaller contracts. Like Hawk Girl was what was she in before? She was in some sort of
She's
like
Dora
Dora
the
the
Explorer.
Explorer fan film
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something or a
yeah,
real film.
exactly. By the way, she looks she has the hot girl look, I will say.
Sure.
Down. Yeah, at least from the animated series that we like so much. I think she has that and which is obviously based on the comics, but I don't really know anything about her. I just know that she has the right look. Same thing for Anthony Carrigan. He's playing Metamorpho. I've seen him a little bit in a couple different shows, Barry specifically most recently, but I think it's an interesting choice for a very obscure character. That's interesting. Like the fact that we got news
A
about
lot
it.
of side characters in this movie.
Yes, but we also knew this is the other thing. So there's the other. I don't know. I shouldn't give this any weight, but people were complaining that, oh, he couldn't make a standalone Superman movie, so he had to put all these extra characters in it. I just don't get the vibe that that's what's going on here. We already knew that this was coming, that Superman was going to be coming into a world, or this movie was going to be in a world where there already was superheroes. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why we'd be surprised that there's other superheroes in the movie. I don't understand why that's an indictment.
I don't know. I can see a little bit of it because it's like we just got like what, like seven character announcements or something for like this next Superman iteration. Like
Right.
it is a
Hawkgirl, Mr.
little,
Terrific, Guy Gardner, Metamorpho, plus Lois and Clark. So that's 7.
yeah.
Oh, 1, 2, 3,
And it's like that's what
6.
they're leading with. Like these are the stories that are supposed to get us excited for a new Superman movie. And all the complaints leading up to before this was even like announced as to what the details were, it was all about like trashing what was before and going back to like what the Superman purists or gatekeeping comic
Yeah, I don't. But like,
books.
who? I've never seen any of these gatekeepers. Like, I don't know who they. I don't
See, I
know.
see
I
that
don't know
all
who they
over.
are.
I see that on Twitter all the time. I don't interact. I just see all those like they share like the clips from like Superman and Lois and be like, see, this is what Superman. And it's like, okay, well, like who's
Sure.
watching that show? Or like that new
Yeah.
cartoon comes up. It's like finally someone who gets Superman. It's like
I okay.
who's
First of
watching this
all,
cartoon?
I don't know, but I'm interested because they are the creators. I know their work from other stuff, and they make good stuff. So I'm going to watch it. We don't really
Sure,
have a good way
that's
of
fine.
watching it here
You
in
never
Canada,
watched
but
Superman and Lois. That is what it is. And
yeah,
you said you weren't a Superman fan a while ago, anyways. The point is that this is all
right.
inherently tied to what the
Yeah,
DCEU was before and what Snyder created.
sure.
Superman in Man of Steel is completely used in a submissive or not submissive
Subversive.
subversive way and an interesting way, thought provoking way. Like Superman was not any of that before that. It was just
Well,
your
depends on
caricature.
which comic you're reading, I guess.
Yeah, but it was just like your caricature of the
The Blue
big
Boy
blue
Scout.
Boy Scout. So
Yeah, and I think
that
there's
is
room
what
for
the
that.
pass is with what has come before in live action,
Well,
and blaming that for whatever failures or
I don't think
whatever.
that's fair. I don't think
And
that
then
characterization
no,
is
well,
fair.
I think it is because we need to wait and see once this movie comes out what what kind of support will it gain garner?
Yeah, I guess. I
Because at
mean,
that point, that is when the answer to all these inflammatory opinions or whatever will finally be answered.
Sure. I
But
mean,
until
yes and
then,
no.
you're going to get the back and forth no matter what,
Well, I
because
mean,
you're saying
but
this
there's no way
wasn't
to
good.
satisfy everybody because there's a group
Yeah.
of fans who want to see the Superman
But
that
that's
is
the thing.
portrayed as a god,
Why are
and then
we
there's
portraying? Why are we just bending to online chatter
I don't think that I don't necessarily
that
feel
we
like
are
that's what's going
seeing?
on. I don't necessarily. I think we're seeing that. I
Of
think that's a
course,
bubble. We're in a bubble.
it
I know
is.
that for
It
sure,
is.
but it's
Yeah,
not.
that
It's
but that
not.
is our bubble, right?
Yeah.
It's commercial and critical failure, and then we say, well, why? And then
Right.
okay, how do we correct that?
Well, we've been wondering
That's the minimalistic breakdown of what has gone on over the last 10 years.
I mean, have we not been struggling with the concept of whether Superman as a character resonates in 2023 at all? I mean, I think that's been a question since
Yeah,
Superman
that'll
Returns,
get
right?
answered with this new movie for
I
sure.
think so. I mean, it depends, and it seems like they're really concentrating on Superman and Clark as a character. I think that's something that we didn't get a lot of. We didn't really get much Clark in the Snyder version of Superman, so that's an interesting change. But I mean, I don't necessarily think that there's a right or wrong way. I think there's a clash between the two interpretations. One is Snyder's interpretation, and I think we talked about this a little bit when we reviewed Excalibur, the 1982 film, which is available on the regular feed. That is something that we don't always do, but I thought that was a good conversation, so we released that out to the wild. You can find that on the feed. We talked about this a little bit on that in that review, which is to say that those characters in that movie, and similarly to Snyder's interpretation of the characters in his version of the movies, are very much these larger than life characters, right? They're not necessarily relatable human characters, and human at
I
the
don't know, dude.
lowercase
I think
h.
it's the complete opposite. I think that's exactly what he's going for. That's what you're missing.
I don't know. Maybe I am missing that, but I think
Superman. Well, what do you mean? The
he is a
big blue Boy
god,
Scout
right?
is not relatable
Well, not
at
anymore. I
all.
agree with that. Yeah, I'm not, but I'm not advocating for the big blue Boy Scout. What I'm advocating for is a more of a
Even
character
Batman,
study.
character, exactly. It is a complete character study. Batman who's lost his way after Robin's been murdered.
Dude,
There
Batman is
is
so
no.
thin in BVS. I'm sorry, that is not true. That
How is that not true?
we those things are you're extrapolating from what the movie's giving you. The movie doesn't really give you that. It gives you to you in
That's
bits
the
and
journey
pieces.
that's set up. That's the journey that's set up. That's the journey that is literally set up throughout for only two movies, for BVS and Justice League.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
it.
he goes from being someone
That's all we
who's
have.
well, I know,
So
but
how
what I'm
can you
saying,
not look at those two movies and see the character take on a classic character who already is paper thin over a couple of notions of the character? This is a
sure.
complete character deep dive as to why this character works.
Well, do
And
we spend
it
almost no
threatened
time with enough time. We don't
threatened
spend enough time with
audiences
them.
too much.
We don't spend enough time with Bruce.
We just only
And
had two movies.
I know,
We
but what I'm
already know
saying
that.
is based on I would say, but
That's the
based on
fault of the studios and the
it's
race to the $1 billion superhero blockbuster
but it's what we
franchise. That's
got.
all it was.
It's what we got. We got was a movie that didn't give us. I like I say, my interpretation of this is that those characters were. He's talked about this, that they're gods among men, right? And they are larger than life, and that's I think really it's compelling in its own way. It's certainly visually interesting, and then I think the other side of the coin here, I think specifically, Gunn has kind of been hitting a hammer on this one, which is that it's about it's about character, and I think that's good. I think that's right. Well, time will tell. We just don't know until the movie comes out and we see how David is able to portray the character, how they play off the villain. We don't even know who the villain is. What kind of role these other characters have in the movie. There's too many question marks. So I agree in the sense that there is certainly a divide amongst the interpretations that are interesting. What I would hope for, at least, is an open mind here going into Superman Legacy, saying is there, is this interpretation able to bridge that gap? I'm gonna go on a limb and say probably not, but I really hope it can. I would really like that to be the case. I don't know. Okay, let's quickly shift gears here a little bit. Ben Affleck's Batman scene from Aquaman 2. This is news from today. So Ben Affleck's Batman scene.
Just have a DC podcast separate, basically. It's like,
yeah, basically, I don't know. Ben Affleck's Batman scene from Aquaman 2 has been cut from the latest version of the film in an effort to, quote, ensure they don't promise a movie universe that will not come to fruition. And that's from THR. This is now the third round of reshoots that this movie's gone through. 2 different Batmen. Now Affleck and who's the other one, Jeremy? It was Keaton. Test screenings have been mixed apparently over this time. According to THR, the film is now on a positive track after the last round of reshoots, which were sanctioned by Gunn.
yeah,
I think this movie's doomed. This movie's doomed. I don't know. There's no way this movie. I mean, this movie's being released to die. There's nothing that can save it.
You say sanctioned by Gunn, so it's like, how can he not get any flack? You know
What's he supposed to do?
That's the thing. You're on the side of what is he supposed to do, but there's going to be people who are like, well, what the fuck? And
yeah, I mean,
both sides are totally valid.
Dude,
it's not like
the what the fuck side is already like is right in the sense that like, what the fuck are we even doing here with this Aquaman movie that has nothing to do with anything, right? Like I completely sympathize.
But it's also
with that.
then why give us that then and make all these changes?
I think the choice is not release it at all or make changes
or
that
I'm gonna make
it
a
more
bunch of
applicable.
changes and then we'll just tear it apart once it comes out.
Okay, so what would you do?
We already did. All this should just be scrapped. Is
that not what I was saying? Like back when they canceled Batgirl, it was like, fuck this, throw it all out.
But then Gunn said no. He is in charge. No, it's just not how it works.
Well, I mean, he did. Let's say so. Yeah,
Gunn literally said The Flash is the greatest superhero movie of all time. Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers saying is the greatest movie since The Dark Knight.
Yeah, because they wanted to make
like your brain. You're completely brainwashed by these people, dude.
No, because I'm not brainwashed. I'm saying there's a reality to this. They spent the money. They want to make some money back. That's why they're putting these movies out. That's the reason.
And you're just eating it up. Yeah,
I'm not eating. What am I lying? This is what they're saying. I'm not saying. I literally just said this movie's going to be released to die.
How you can be this like, yeah, let's just see his new universe. It'll be way better than the last one, guaranteed.
Because these movies, he wasn't even involved in making this movie.
Feel anything, and there was only 2 of them, and like it's just like what, like I don't know.
So
man.
No, I just think. Hold on, back up. I said I want to see Gunn's new universe. It will be different from this because the truth is he wasn't involved in the making of this movie until very late in the process. So how much can you really? And same thing with The Flash. How much can you really put at the feet of Gunn for those movies? It's just like that's not realistic.
He's also said The Flash is his favorite superhero movie ever.
Yeah, and he fucking lied. That was he for sure lied.
So why do you trust this guy so wholeheartedly? Like
because he's employed by the studio. What else is he supposed to say? That's what I mean. Like he's gonna have to play nice with Warner Brothers until these movies are out and done and out of the way, and we can judge the new stuff on its own merits.
And people see through that, which is why he's getting the hate. How can you not see how that hate would be there?
What's okay? Like I said, he was put into this position. What's he supposed to do? He doesn't get to choose whether the movie's canceled or not. He has to make the best out of that situation here.
Do you know he's co-CEO with Peter Safran. Do you know what Safran has been doing? He's a producer of Shazam. That's his movie.
Sure. So you think that those movies? So you think? So your opinion is that we should expect another movie like Shazam and The Flash or whatever, and Aquaman 2.
No, it's going to have its clever dialogue that James Gunn always has, and it's going to have fun with its characters. Like we know it's going to like whatever. That's just not. It's not as interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we just don't know. We can't know until we see it. We just don't.
You've seen the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I like that
movie. It's not that great of a movie.
I like that movie, and I liked Guardians
You're
3.
raising your voice again.
I like
Guardians
I
3,
said it earlier in the movie, and I
no
like
one
Guardians
cares.
3.
No one cares for Guardians 3.
No one cares for it. I
Yeah,
just said I liked it.
let's just make Rocket Raccoon the main character and make it super sad, and let's all get super emotional with these stupid songs that
It
he's
wasn't the
ripped off.
song, dude.
He ripped off all these crazy song choices from like the Raimi Spider-Man movies, who started the whole random like cult rock songs or whatever.
Dude, you can't you can't say that he stole the idea of using music. Like using
No,
you're doing
just
needle
like,
drops.
well, I just
Come
the
on.
needle drop. It's just like
Yeah, that's
it's
that's
so
certainly
much.
been a
It's
part of his
so
style. That's
it's
true.
so
Yeah.
much heavy lifting. It's just like, get this out of my face.
Okay, so as I said before, we haven't
Give
seen him
me
do
Hans
Superman.
Zimmer.
Well, Hans Zimmer doesn't do
Take
superhero
these
movies
characters
anymore. So.
seriously. Put effort
Jeremy,
and
we
passion
do
into
not.
it.
We don't know that that's not going to happen here. That's what I'm saying.
We
I think
know that
we
was
don't.
happening though, and we have people like you trying to say that that wasn't happening and that it was a failure. That's why there's the
What are you talking about?
confrontation.
Which things are a failure?
The DCEU before.
Yeah. What,
That's the impasse. We'll see how it goes.
Since Justice League,
we'll
it's
see how
been
it goes
a mess.
with
Yes.
DCU, MCU. We'll see.
We will see.
Just
That's the only
because
thing we
people
know.
sign contracts and they're CEOs, now doesn't mean they know what they're doing.
No, but I have more faith in him than fucking David Zaslav. So, you know.
This is David Zaslav's decision to bring this guy. It was his choice.
I mean,
Zaslav has no idea what he's doing. He's trying to get these characters prompt up so he can sell it again.
Dude, I don't.
And they went with a known
That's speculation. We don't know that. We don't know that,
Well,
and we don't know that that's
speculation.
the goal of what this is. I have to take some of this at face value, which is to say that we are rebooting this, and that reboot deserves
and nobody
a chance.
cares.
No, we don't know that yet.
Well, you do know that.
You're because we're in that bubble. That's
that's not the conversation you're seeing. There isn't huge hype right now.
The movie's still
over the next
a year and a half away, Jeremy.
2025 with a strike right now.
Right, so it's likely to be pushed
every
further.
DC character that he can think of at this movie for a new Superman take.
Yeah, like I said, you're not giving
the best look.
Guy Gardner, you are interpreting you are extrapolating off of
Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion.
Get excited about Green Lantern in a movie. When's the last time you saw Green Lantern in a movie?
We're gonna get an HBO Game of Thrones style $8 million episode.
That movie was never. That show was never real, man. That show was never real. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
It never got close to production.
Sure.
The people who were making that show basically said constantly that they didn't know what was happening, that they didn't. No one, the people who were cast in it had never seen a script.
We've been podcasting for years over Warner Brothers fiasco and their decisions. And
I agree.
So you can't put it on. Look at interviews of the actor when he's doing promotion for his other things. They ask him what's next. There's video of it. He says Green Lantern.
Yeah, listen, I know that
you cannot, in good faith, go around saying that it never existed. You're living right now, sure, that's fine, but it did exist.
It existed as an idea. It never got into production, which I think is a big difference.
It was getting there for sure.
But if it getting up to production and getting into production are two different things.
They sold the company for $48 billion. Things abruptly shifted.
Yes, I know that. What I'm saying is the last time you saw Green Lantern, yeah, but here's the thing,
signed
Jeremy.
The contract, it did exist.
What are we gonna do? Cry over spilt milk? We can't anymore.
I'm just saying, I'd rather have a $100 million budget Game of Thrones Green Lantern style HBO level show than Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. This is a joke.
This is okay. Well, no, Jeremy, relax. Okay, no way. You sound just like that
joke.
Twitter, like that. You sound exactly like that whole Twitter bubble that I've been talking about.
Good movies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We want good movies. We don't know this isn't a good movie yet.
Safran is a producer. Shazam. Have you seen the second one? No, you haven't.
No, I have not.
Care.
No.
Do you know how many movies have come out that people do not care for? Black Adam,
Jeremy.
Shazam. Like, it's just not happening. Flash. It's not happening, dude. You're
right.
going to every single one. You're going to Guardians. You're going to You're going to Ant-Man.
Yeah,
You're
and I'm
going to
having a
all of
great
them.
time going to these
So of
movies. I'm
course
having a
you're gonna have
blast.
bias saying that it's all good
I'm
when
not
the
saying
numbers
that.
are not sharing
First
that
of all, we don't.
sentiment,
First of all, we
and
don't
it's
judge
for a
movies'
reason.
quality based on their box office performance. We
No,
know
no, no.
that.
This is after the fact. This is like, well, I don't care to go see that movie. Nothing's drawing me to it. And then look at the box office. If you want to bring up BVS as a financial failure,
I said that was what caused this destabilization. That's just the
no,
fact.
but I'm
That's how
saying your
whatever they spun
side
it or
will
whatever.
always say
It's not about
that
sides.
when
It's
no,
not
but it
about
is though.
sides. I
You
just
are
want
on
good.
one
I
side
also
and
just
I'm on
want
the
good
other.
movies. I also want good movies, Jeremy. No one's
Yeah, but you
denying
had
that.
them and you're brainwashed to thinking that they were bad.
No, I liked
It's the
Jeremy. I
online
will. We
narrative.
go back and listen to our reviews of those movies. They are mixed. We did not come out of those being
Yeah, but
super fans of those
with
movies.
BVS in particular, I remember my theatrical experience. I was like, well, what's going on? Because my expectations were vastly different. So you're allowed to sit with things, rewatch things,
Well, I
see how
get
things
that.
play out, see sequels, and it's like Jesus Christ, just let this guy make these movies, and we would be in a totally different place right now.
Maybe, maybe not. But the thing is, this is what I mean. There's so much of this conversation is like, well, it should be this. Well, guess what? It's not. So we can either get on board with what we are getting, at least try and have an open
No,
mind.
because we got the Flash, we got Shazam, we got
Yeah,
Black
those
Adam,
movies
all
again.
shit.
Those movies are Frankenstein monsters created in a
Peacemaker's returning. You're
yeah.
getting the
I like
authority. You're
Peacemaker.
getting, dude. It's not a hype. It's
Dude, you're
not
not
hype.
giving it. You're
You
not
know it's
giving
not
it
hype.
any credit
It's
here.
not Kevin
It's
Feige's
crazy.
slate. It's not Kevin Feige's slate hype. You know it to be true.
Kevin Feige's slate hype hasn't even been that hype recently. So people aren't watching Secret Invasion. You know what I mean? Like there's more to this than just DC can't get their shit together, which is partially true. But we just don't know enough yet. You are
Well, we
inferring
know
a lot
about
of stuff, and
we
I
know
know
about
it's not fair.
7 characters in this new
And we don't know how big of a
Savior
role that any
Superman
of those
shit.
characters play. And Jeremy, as like I said, going back to Guy Gardner, you are a Green Lantern fan. You love Green Lantern.
Yeah, this is not exciting.
This doesn't excite you at all. A character who's
all.
voiced a Green Lantern before in
Hal
animation
Jordan.
and did a great job.
Hal Jordan.
Yeah, and did a great job of that. Correct or
Hal
not correct?
Jordan, a
Is
different Green Lantern.
a character actors have range, Jeremy? Do you not think that
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion's capable of that?
Nathan Fillion is only doing it because he's worked with James Gunn before, though. That's a fact. See, you can have. That's the thing. There's truth to all these
Yeah, but you can
banter.
spin them into these in completely negative way. But why can't you just get excited about a Green Lantern? Because that's what I'm excited about.
Because
I'm excited. An actor that I like playing a Green Lantern, which we haven't seen on the big screen except for a tiny little role in Zack Snyder's, which wasn't even on the big screen. We saw
Exactly. We could have got that,
Right.
but we didn't because of Warner Brothers'
but
incompetence, which is
okay,
continuing
but
to this day.
again,
So I'm not going to let Warner Brothers just say it's all good because James Gunn is making a movie.
we
There's just
have
no
to give
way.
him a chance to relaunch it, Jeremy.
I'm not saying I'm not giving him a chance. I just
You
saying none of
100%
this is hype.
are.
No,
You're 100% are. You're basically saying that
I
none of
will
this matters.
see- Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner is not hype. There's just no how.
I don't know. I feel it.
Tell-
I feel
You
it.
don't
I like
feel
that.
it. You
Yes, I
don't
do.
feel it.
I
No,
like
you
Nathan
don't.
Fillion,
You
and
just
I
say Guy
like
Gardner's
Green
your
Lantern.
least favorite Green Lantern too.
Yeah,
so
but
there's no
that's
way.
like saying that strawberries are my least favorite berry. Like it's like
No, it's not.
Jeremy, come on.
That's a terrible example comparison.
A Green Lantern, regardless of whether it's one of my least favorite of those characters, is still exciting to me. And I just I don't you got to let yourself enjoy things again. That's all. I don't know. I mean, as I said, I like Mr. Terrific as a character, as another thing that I've seen other interpretations of in animated form and live action, and I like that character. I don't really have much thoughts on Metamorpho. I've only seen him a little bit in a couple things. I do kind of like their story from a character perspective. Hawkgirl always was a favorite of mine in the animated series. So, to say that these things are completely irrelevant, I don't think it's just not fair. I'm trying. I would rather keep an open mind. Is all I'm saying.
Sure.
Well, we missed out on lots of other stories that I wanted to cover. Let me run through a couple very quickly, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. There was a Napoleon trailer that came out, and it looks really fucking cool. So that's like another like historical epic. And I recommend people go watch that trailer, especially if you have a big bright TV. It's very cool. Mentioned Bob Iger. He's back at Disney. He's going to stay on through 2026. We did get to see the first look at Deadpool 3. And one piece of news, by the way, that Jennifer...
Talk about hype and excitement.
Because he's wearing a yellow suit?
Well, we knew Hugh Jackman was coming back, but we're finally getting those two on screen together again. And the suit is cool for sure.
Yeah, I like the suit. I want to know what they do
with the
hood though. How do you do the hood part? Like, how do you do the mask?
We'll see. It'll probably be CG, just like the Thor stuff.
You think?
Black Bolt. Yeah. Black Bolt was completely CG. That whole suit.
Yeah, that makes sense. It looked weird.
Just make it nice and tight.
Yeah, yeah, like that's like
dude,
comic book skin
is
tight.
So exciting to me. We've lived with Hugh Jackman's.
I'm excited too. I'm excited for that.
For over 20 years.
Yes.
We know Deadpool is just super meta and breaking the wall and all that. And then the set league. This is all spoilers, but
the
again,
20th.
We're in the 20th Century Fox. Unbelievable. Like, who's gonna be? Will it be Logan? Will it be Hugh Jackman? Will he just be like so upset that he's
playing
wearing
himself?
This yellow
yeah,
suit?
Exactly.
And because the rumor is that they're in the Void, which was teased in the Loki series,
right?
And that Wolverine has to like wear that suit because he found it there. So is it like the classic Hugh Jackman Logan Wolverine from like the Fox movies, who like they make fun of the yellow spandex, right? So it just feels and he's fighting Deadpool and slicing him up, and they're obviously arguing, and so I just can't wait for that scene to happen.
I agree with that. I think that's going to be a great time. I 100% agree. I like the suit. I think it looks really cool. I have questions about the hood, as I said before, but is it not kind of counterintuitive to what we were talking about like casting actors in the same role for 20 years in the sense of in Hugh Jackman?
When were we talking about that as being bad?
Well, we were talking about that as like we were talking about, hey, we're no one's taking risks. I don't know if casting Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is really a risk. It's not. It's exciting. We're all excited about that. Logan was an amazing
that's
movie.
The Marvel nostalgia, multiverse, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, like that. Marvel is capitalizing on that in a proper fashion,
the right way.
And
right. Okay. Are you excited that Jennifer Garner is coming back as Elektra? Does that interest you at all?
No, I mean the rumor has been Affleck's Daredevil will be in there too.
Oh, really? That's fun. If that's true, that's fun. I actually think that
because like it just makes
justice
will
for that
be
movie.
So much more fun with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool just
ripping into shreds. Yeah,
it's just you want that.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think to some degree, I feel like some of the jokes might be a little like easy. I hope that they don't take the easy route on some of that stuff and are a little bit more creative. But either way, it's cool to see. Production is now stopped due to the SAG strike. But.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But the whole 20th Century Fox Void logo, them fighting, like that's just too good.
But you didn't watch She-Hulk.
Oh, I watched some of it. I just petered off towards the end.
I really liked it, and there's a whole third wall break situation in that show too that I think.
Yeah, it was cute, clever in certain areas. Like I really like the credits. Like those credits are super memorable to me. I love the look of the credits.
I thought. I just thought that.
And the actor.
I can't remember. Yeah, what's her name? Natalie.
No, you knew. I watched some of the behind the scenes. You knew Kevin Feige is a huge She-Hulk fan, so he definitely poured a lot of effort into that series, even though it may have been cheapened with some of the cameos and Mark Ruffalo's Hulk just not really. Just kind of on his own weird journey that we're all just accepting.
Well, it's just odd to me. It's like we're gonna do a She-Hulk show, but like the Hulk is gonna go off into space. It's like I would.
Well, he's in the show though, and then he's like he's the smart Hulk, and then he has like some weird son or something that has like a weird ass haircut.
Yeah, he does have a son.
Very strange. Like
there's some odd choices. I agree.
It's like at this point, it's just like, remember being a kid and liking the Hulk? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't. I mean, the Hulk, I think, as a tough character, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think Mark Ruffalo, bless his soul, is doing pretty good stuff.
For sure.
He's great.
I just can't
Yeah.
wait for the evolution of the Hulk character in the MCU. Like I'm just let's
Like
do it
what's
again.
next? What's next for the Hulk? Is what you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
like get rid of the
yeah.
glasses and the suit, the t-shirts. Like
Let's go back to
let's
classic
smash some
Hulk.
shit up
Yeah.
again. Like
Right.
come on,
Okay.
what are
Fair
you
enough.
waiting for?
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Um. So speaking of Marvel and stuff that's not working, we also got a Craven the Hunter trailer. Did you watch this, Jeremy?
Just a little bit of it. I
Oh my
just
god, it's
kind of
so
skimmed through.
brutal.
Yeah.
Fuck this movie. I remember talking about this the first time this was announced, and I was like, "Fuck this! I don't even want this to exist." And then,
What do you mean, man? You need to learn to enjoy things better
no,
and
fuck
have
this.
fun.
I'm
No,
sorry.
fuck you.
This is no,
Fuck you.
no. This
What do
is
you mean?
a.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is a saint.
Is he?
Yeah, he's great.
Are you gonna go see this movie?
I don't know.
No, no, you're not.
I need
Don't
to see
even
the I
bullshit
need to
me,
see the trailer like in the theater or something.
man. He gets lion blood in him, and that makes him into a superpowered um justice
Don't
warrior.
sleep on Craven the Hunter.
No, man.
You
Don't
slept on
even. This
Morbius.
is
You
Morbius
slept on Morbius
2.0.
and you were wrong.
I wasn't wrong about Morbius. That movie. What are you talking about? I don't appreciate this slander. I do not support the Sony Spider-Verse. Except for Venom, which are pretty fun.
No.
Despite
Everything
despite
no. I just
despite some
rewatched
massive
the Spider- I
problems.
just watched the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi movies. We are just how do
We're
like
not
this
we're
just
not
sucks.
eating. We're starving here now. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
like
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but then it's like no, we aren't. Spider-Man, Tom Holland's third Far From Home made $1.5 billion. We're eating like it's like okay, like it's a fun event,
Yeah. No. Hey, listen, man. We had
but
a
also
great
Tobey
time.
Maguire was
We
in
had
the
a great
movie
time
and
with.
Andrew Garfield was in the movie.
Yeah, but that we did enjoy that movie. Let's not we did. Let's not
Sure, but
pretend like we
like it's
didn't.
also one of those ones where like I don't really care to like I'm not itching to throw that in my player and
And you're
watch it
itching to
again.
throw Spider-Man 3 in your player.
I did throw it in my yeah, I did. And I
Yeah,
actually
and
really enjoyed the first hour.
okay.
I'm like, what were we expecting? It's Sam Raimi, it's his third
Yeah, and
movie.
and he's black suit Spider-Man. That's
Yeah, like
cool. And then the
once that
whole
yeah.
bell tower scene's
Yeah,
cool.
man.
Yeah,
I was eating up the first bit of that movie. It's
yeah,
once James Franco just really ruins the movie in my opinion.
yeah,
Terrible
yeah.
actor. Has he ever been good in
Yeah.
anything?
He kind of plays the same thing. You remember he was in that first Apes movie, the first Apes reboot movie. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but you don't remember him in that movie. You
No,
remember
you
the
don't.
ape.
No, you don't.
Like James Franco was good as Harry in like a couple moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he had the upper hand and he like was smiling and he was dating MJ or something like that. Like there's just moments, but damn, he ruined the
I
third movie.
well, I mean, well, what was your opinion of what's his name as Eddie Brock then? It's that
Oh,
70
that
show
sucked
dude.
too.
Yeah, okay, just checking.
I liked how he was like I guess he was just like super overconfident and whatnot, but like
Mm-hmm.
but again, we're coming from a place where we know the cartoon, which is the comics, so it's like we're almost gatekeeping like these
Sure.
characters to a certain degree, and
Yeah.
that's what I found is happening with like characters in some of these movies. Like,
Well,
so it's
speak,
like, well, whatever, man. Like,
speaking of which, Idris Elba said that he is no longer interested in playing James Bond. I think it seems like there is potential interest in having him. People wanted him. It sounds like someone probably reached out to him to maybe do that. And then when that news came out, he said that racist fans turned him off the idea. So there you go.
so then it isn't just bubbles we live in, eh? It's just as soon as you just log on, you just kind of
everyone sucks.
fed the
Turns
narrative.
out. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It bugs me because first of all, love Idris Elba. Second of all, think he would have made a great James Bond. Third of all, the racists kind of win because now he's not playing James Bond, so that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. That just really bums me out. On the James Bond front, Sam Mendes, who's directed the last few, will not. He's declined to return to direct the next James Bond film. That makes a lot of sense. He's been doing it a long time.
Also, add quickly to that, Christopher Nolan was asked, would he direct another superhero film?
He said absolutely not.
He said no.
Yeah,
He just said no. He just said no. But I think it was like a speed round question thing. So
Right.
like the meme clip of it
Right.
is just brilliant.
I
Because
just
it just really sums up like why would you put yourself in that position and just get just completely tortured online over every decision you make.
Exactly. It's really it's a young man's game. You know, it's he did talk about, by the way, Nolan did talk about Batman Dark Knight Rises again, because there is a nuclear explosion in that movie.
Right.
So he talked about how they did that in CG versus how they filmed the nuclear explosion in Oppenheimer, all kind of in camera. Obviously not, they didn't explode a nuke. It's really interesting. Go watch some of the behind the scenes stuff. There's some YouTube featurettes and stuff.
Yeah, I love listening to Nolan talk.
Yeah, he's really smart. Like, he talks about how they use
doesn't have a cell phone. He has a computer not connected to the internet where he writes his scripts. He hand delivers his scripts. He's literally living in like the 90s.
Yeah, Chris Nolan
making art.
According to Emily Blunt, Chris Nolan is a fan of the Fast and Furious movies, and saying you never hear him shit talk other people's movies. Yeah. which by the way, I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure we have heard him shit talk other people's movies.
No, I think the latest one was that there was reports that he was upset that Barbie was released in the same weekend or something. But then the whole thing quickly turned into the theater experience with Tom Cruise attached to it with Mission Impossible, and like it's more, everyone taking pictures with their tickets and the Barbenheimer and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a fun kind of like cultural.
But but I also love, in terms of like the Snyder like flame wars we see online. Nolan obviously handpicked Snyder for the DCEU, but he also recently mentioned him again along with J.J. Abrams about like bouncing, like throwing their movies, or like viewing each other's movies and whatnot, and like taking notes and whatnot. So I love when I hear the people who are actually like, in the real like world, even though they're not
actually
in the real,
making
like,
it. Right.
Yeah, like in the real art form, just doing their thing.
Yeah. I mean, the not shit talking other people's movies sounds like a dig at Scorsese, to be honest. But
well, the thing is that the Scorsese quotes are also taken up context. If you look up those interviews, he says they're wonderfully made and wonderfully acted, and like he says, all that
they're roller coaster, and he's not wrong about those things. We've talked about this before. Yeah.
In our very first Agree to Disagree.
That's right. James Cameron says a new Alita is in the works. I love the first Alita Battle Angel. I think it's a criminally underrated movie, so excited about that.
Pretty cool, yeah. Actually, just I was watching. I didn't finish it, but I was watching Sucker Punch. And I had watched Alita Battle Angel, I think, for the first time actually this year.
Oh, nice.
But I was getting the same vibe of just like how cool these movies are. Like, I haven't finished Sucker Punch, and obviously the narrative is that movie sucks or something like that. But I was like enjoying the first hour, which is all I've seen so far.
It's all over the place. It gets in its own way. That's Sucker Punch's problem. Yeah,
we'll see. Yet to be determined.
Sure, but Alita is great.
I kind of go against the. I kind of hate when there's like a narrative, and I kind of usually go against it.
Maybe you shouldn't even. I shouldn't have said anything, but I guess you already knew.
Well, I knew you were gonna say that stuff though. Like, I saw
but
you,
like again, I've
it.
seen it.
I saw
I've
you
seen
tweet
it
about it one time as if it's factual, and then you just never gave any really good criticisms. The second time you said something, it was just like whatever criticism.
I don't remember, but I will say. I mean, like I said, it was when they were using Sucker Punch as an example of like as the blueprint for the hallway fight scene in Guardians 3, and it's like that is a stretch in my opinion.
Not really, because if you look it up, there was the same fight choreographers in both.
Okay, well that's cool, but either way,
so boom,
of
course they're going to be compared.
Well, okay, but either way,
and Alita worked with James Gunn on Dawn of the Dead. So
yes, yeah,
of course it's going to happen, and that's the bait that you're falling for.
I can't get into it. I don't want to. Don't let me do that. Just give me like a heads up.
I'm trying to pull you out.
Yeah,
it's not happening. We need a couple more years for you, I think. Then you'll be at that curve that
we'll see. Yeah, because you're so far ahead of me.
Yeah.
You're excited about a new Alita.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Sick.
I thought I don't know why. I mean, we never talked about it, but I thought Alita was so cool. It was just like the way that they did everything. Yeah.
I just waited till it was on
it's on Netflix,
streaming
I think.
service, and then it was like nice. It was like 4K streaming. It was like sick.
Yeah, it's dope.
I think I tried to download it, and it was just like a bad quality version.
The what's it? Salazar, the actress who plays Alita, is like the way that they able to make her face move and stuff was just really impressive. And just the world is really cool, and like the action.
And whatever
is
James
badass.
Cameron does, it's just like we need.
Well, and he's just producing too, and it was like, and it was Rodriguez was directing, so it's like let's get them back involved and let's do that. Okay, so Donald Glover will return for the Community movies. This is the movie Filming will begin next summer, assuming the strike doesn't come back. That's great. Troy was the best character on that show until he left the show early, so that's exciting. 28 Years Later, which is the potential third installment of the 28 Days Later franchise, is back in the news. Alex Garland, great all-time Oscar winner. Alex Garland says he's finished the script. Danny Boyle is interested in directing or returning to direct. Obviously, he directed.
I have the first
movie.
two on DVD.
Well, get those 4K Blu-rays ready. And Cillian Murphy is down to return, so that's awesome. Although, I imagine this came mostly out of some sort of Oppenheimer press, but either way, that's really cool. Yeah. And then we don't have time to get into Emmy noms. We owe you that. I do know.
We always over the last few years.
We always okay, but I will say, just for talking things that deserve Emmys, The Bear season 2 is the best show I've seen this year. It's unbelievable.
Comes to Canada. Snyder Cut reference in one of their episodes in the first season.
I don't remember that, but I do remember that doesn't matter, Jeremy. The Bear is so good. The Bear is so good.
That's my goal. Is like to always mention Snyder stuff throughout all our episodes.
Yeah, I think it is now. it's kind of getting in the way. Anyway, I owe some commentary on Indiana Jones further than I thought it was great, because I did think it was a ton of fun. Maybe a little bit deeper on The Bear season 2. Some impressions on Secret Invasion. I also watched Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Wow. What a snooze fest.
It is a little boring. It's so much worse than Andor.
Feige,
it's not even close.
Thinking?
They said that it was their version of
and
Andor.
And blames everyone for just creating too much shit. It's so crazy. That was was before the strike, eh? He was saying that
there's too much fatigue. Yeah.
This idea that just threw everybody else under the bus.
I mean, I think there is some truth to that statement, though, to be honest, Jeremy. So,
but as the captain of the ship, it's just not a good look. And then, like you said, he turned into a villain as soon as he had the interview about unrealistic demands, and then his salary was brought up.
Well, and I think they were
contract renewal.
That anonymous quote from that absolutely disastrous. I don't know. That seems awfully scary, like crazy.
Perlman?
Yes, he basically threatened him. He basically said, "I'll come to your house."
Yeah,
it's just
it was like
wild.
It was like a clip out of Sons of Anarchy.
Yes, I was gonna. Yeah, exactly. I was just saying. Yes,
great
100%.
villain in that show.
That is so. You're 100% right. He comes off as so genuinely terrifying in that clip. Yeah. Where he's basically like, listen, we know who it is.
He looks like a bulldog. Just his jowls.
Yeah, everything about it. He's a scary dude. He's a really cool guy, but a scary dude. Yeah. Man. What a crazy time. What a crazy time to be alive. He only wants to do animation now, Guillermo. So
yeah. Sucks.
Does it? Because it's a medium, Jeremy. I don't know if you heard. It's a medium.
I like the other medium better.
All right. Fair enough. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, not as good as Fallout in my opinion, but still a great movie. There is absolutely a whole sequence ripped out of Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, in this movie, and it's so badass, Jeremy. It just made me think of, first of all, we kind of liked the Uncharted movie for what it was. It was like fine, but in comparison to what is possible with a Tom Cruise movie and what they do with this train, spoilers, it's so fucking cool. So it just makes me even more upset.
Never forget this duo of Christopher McQuarrie, Tom Cruise. They pitched a Green Lantern movie with Warner Brothers, and they
turned it down.
They said
Christopher McQuarrie, he doesn't know how to make action movies, so they're like, no thanks.
They said no on that one. Tom Cruise, just the man of the hour again.
This man, it's so wild how he's back in this role.
The number one celebrity movie star spot.
He's the only true. He's the only true movie star left.
Yeah,
he
lost the title, but
he earned it back.
Maverick, he took it back.
Yeah, I think the Mission Impossible movies, and then Maverick, it was like he's locked in. He's back. He's back, baby.
Dialed in. He's dialed in.
Yeah. Dial of Destiny. No, that's different. Anyway, so we owe you a little bit more on that stuff. We'll come back on that in a couple weeks. Anyway, that has been another episode. It's a little rocky one. This one, a little heated there in the middle. but it's it was
I'm
warranted.
just tired of this huge farce going on, and we're on
Jeremy,
different sides of it.
it's
We're on
not a
different sides of
farce.
it, and
There's no
it's just
farce going on.
we're on
It's
different
not a
sides of it.
farce.
I had to just kind of lean into it for a bit, and
Okay,
we're
fair
gonna do
enough.
some restructuring going forward. But if there's any feedback, let us know.
What do you mean? What kind of restructuring?
I don't know. We'll see.
What do you mean? Oh, well, it's funny. Okay. We'll be back with some more TOB in the near future. In the meantime, things like Ahsoka is right around the corner, so look for the return of Rachel. Shut the fuck up. Swear to God. Ahsoka, coming from Dave Filoni, looked very hyped.
That's gonna bomb.
Jeremy, no fucking way it will. No way.
I'm very sorry for your
Rebels
your
too.
your little Star Wars heart, but
you're not excited. You saw that shit. You saw that trailer for the second trailer, and you're like, no, not for me.
Dude, they threw everything in the kitchen. They threw everything but the kitchen sink. I know, and the kitchen sink in that trailer.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a bunch of cool shit going on in there. I just don't know what people want anymore. That doesn't get you excited. I don't get it. I don't know. Anyway, that's coming soon. So Rachel will be back with me to do some weekly recaps of that.
I would just say I think it would be cool, like the Thrawn shit or whatever, but like just the Ahsoka is our lead in this.
Yeah, I mean for this show, I don't think there's a movie coming that's going to be the Thrawn ascendancy stuff. I don't think Ahsoka is going to be the lead of that movie, but we'll see. And there's going to be more Anakin, so look for more Anakin flashbacks in this movie, in the show too. So tune in just for that, at least.
Yeah, hopefully they de-age him properly.
This time, well, yeah, they didn't even bother. They didn't even bother last time.
And your boy Andor didn't really get nominated for much there.
I know that pissed. And you know what did get nominated?
I'm loving that.
No, man, fuck that. Andor was good. What do you mean?
No. Because that's all people who liked Andor kept talking about. It's so good. Best Star Wars.
It is so good.
It's like, what even happened in that show? What's so good about it?
Oh, Jeremy, I don't even... Dude, I'm sorry. I just couldn't disagree with you more. It's great. What do you mean what happens in it?
Come up with anything.
It's a story. It's a character study on a person, Andor specifically, being radicalized into the rebellion. It's fascinating.
You've lost.
What do you mean? Yes, it is. We deal with 3 significant major parts in his time of his life.
Only 3
in the first season, and there's a second season coming that inform what the character becomes in Rogue One. So I just couldn't disagree with you more, Jeremy. Rogue One is great. Rogue One is great, and so is Andor. It deserves more.
The Emmys agree with me. So.
You know what they did? You know what they do? They nominated Obi-Wan for Best Limited Series, and that's crazy to me because despite liking most of that show, it is not good enough for that nomination. Andor deserved that, in my opinion, but maybe it didn't qualify for that category. Whatever.
All right.
Anyway, okay. I'm all worked up now, Jeremy. Thanks a lot.
That was my goal.
Well, it worked. All right, we'll be back soon with more. We'll talk to you then.